Good morning. I do not plan to preach. Really, I arrived here and I just felt burdened because I remember David Hanson. I knew David a long time ago. Back in 1972, I met him at Gallaudet University. We went to Gallaudet together. I decided in my junior year to transfer to Temple Deaf College. David graduated in 1975, and then he went to TDC, and we have remained in fellowship. In 1977, I graduated from Temple Deaf College and went to Peru. And then David graduated in 1978, and God called him as pastor. I know that he began this church in 1980. We've seen him many times. I've been to Deaf Liberty Baptist Church back in different meeting places, Red Bridge Church, and then there were other places. Now you were here. So I'm wow. I can't believe that he's gone. I really can't. We are very similar age, and I'm still alive, but God knows. I've given him to him, and I'm happy for him that he's in the presence of the Lord. I came June 22nd, I landed in Atlanta, changed airports, went to Minneapolis, St. Paul, changed flights again, went to Montana, my home church where I was born and raised in Montana. I'm a Montana girl. It's a little cold, yes, but they started, then I started my preparation as far as visiting the other churches. Peru, you're only allowed to be gone for 180 days, so it's equal to 6 months. So I've tried to get as much into those 6 months as I could. I knew that I wanted to get to DLBC because I knew that David was not there any longer. I'd like to know who it was. I contacted Mark, the pastor, and I said, okay. And then we have kind of gone from there. Went to Independence, Des Moines. Maybe some of you know the pastor there. Visited them and then drove. Some of you know Charlene. Her home is over there in Kirksville. Stayed with her and visited and chatted with her for a bit. Then been here in the Kansas City area. I've been with Jerry Sanders and Leslie. I knew them at Temple Deaf College as well. So now, hello. I am here. I don't want to go on and on and on. I'd like to just go ahead with my PowerPoint, but before that, you will see my display in the back has a little explanation about Peru. There's a section about me and my testimony and my life. You can read that. Then the central thing is talking about the land, and then the next is the map of where this is. I've got a laptop with pictures and things like that of my 39 years, and thrown a bunch of pictures in there, and then they'll appear and disappear. You can look at those pictures if you'd like. Prayer cards, I have those. They're brand new. In the past, I had my picture with my dog, but no longer. The dog has passed away and died. So now I have a new picture with a new prayer card with my white hair. I'm not a young woman any longer. But I am, those things are all ready. So I'm going to have my PowerPoint now. Samsung remote. No. It's fine, I can just turn them on.
Hola, mi nombre es Nancy. Yo soy una misionera ahora en el Perú. Yo trabajo en la iglesia y en colegio para los sordos.
Translation. Hello, my name is Nancy. I am a deaf missionary in Peru. I work in a church and school for the deaf. Baptist International Missions is my mission board, or BIMI. My ministry as a missionary is to the deaf in Peru. This is my first visit to Peru, June 1976. The beautiful country of Peru. I worked in Lima with Vernon and Velma Miller from 1978 to 1989. Ray Bradley joined us in 1984 and worked with us for 3 years. The Millers and myself served in Lima from 1989 until 2000 with Lee Johnson and Mary Shepard coming to train with us for 4 years during that time. Here I am, teaching in Lima at the Deaf Christian School. I worked there for 22 years. On October 28, 2001, I moved from Lima to Chiclayo to help the Johnsons' deaf ministry. I have been serving with them for the last 16 years. This is downtown Chiclayo. I am pictured here teaching in Pimentel. Our land was purchased in May 2002 and is just under 2 acres. This is the view from north to south. This view of the property is the opposite, from south to north. The old south wall needs to be demolished and rebuilt with new anti-corrosion bricks. Because of your donations, the old front wall was demolished, and here you see rebuilding with new anti-corrosion bricks. This is the first walls of the new church building. Ta-da! The finished church. What are our current needs? Funds to demolish and rebuild a new kitchen and dining hall. This is the old dining hall that has been partially demolished to make room for the new one. A view of the new front wall from the highway, looking through the gate to the south wall. Church building and dining hall will be on the right, and school offices and classrooms will be on the left. Here's a different angle of the front wall. Our temporary meeting place while the new church was being built. Our deaf church consists of deaf students and some deaf individuals from Chicalo. This is a student from our sixth grade graduation class in 2005. He went on to graduate from our high school in 2010. Sosimo is from the jungle and came to attend our high school. He graduated 5 years later in 2012. Now, Sosimo is pastoring the deaf, who are part of a hearing church in the far southeast jungle of Peru. The Johnson's daughter, Melanie Eve, is teaching the deaf kindergarten class during her summer break from Pensacola Christian College. Miss Kayleese, with her first grade deaf students. Deaf students from the 4th through 6th grade class. Our most recent high school graduation class, December 2016. This is my poor old car, a 1991 Nissan Sentra that still runs, but needs a little tender loving care once in a while. These are architectural drawings of the proposed future plans for our ministry complex. Proposed church building, dining hall, and high school classrooms, which are on the east side of the property. Proposed drawing of school offices with kindergarten and primary classes, which are on the west side of the property. And lastly, here is an overhead view of our proposed ministry complex.
That is all. I'm sure that you've seen those pictures. The reason why I travel is because I'm looking to raise funds. I hate to do that, to be honest. Feels like I've got my hand out and begging, but churches want to help. We are like a family. The monies that we receive, again, are for this building project. The dining hall. You recently saw the land. It used to have an old fortress wall, but it all started going bad and started deteriorating. About head high, people were going over the wall and stealing stuff and stealing our church things. Like plastic chairs would get stolen, kitchen stuff, pots and pans were stolen. Portable organ was stolen. So were kind of frustrated with that. They also stole from the school, ripped apart a metal cage. They broke into that and stole a computer, just lots of stuff. And that frustrated us. Last 2012, I went to West Montana and traveled around a bit and gained $22,000. And we built a wall. I think you all saw that wall. Big, tall wall, nice and high, all the way across, so they can't steal any longer. So finally we have peace. But now, about 2 years ago, missionary Lee Johnson and his wife, Ava is a Peruvian. Lee Johnson is an American from South Carolina. Both are hearing, but they both can sign. He came out to the east and raised monies from churches to build the church. You saw the church building that's just recently constructed. There are a few things that still need to be done, like windows, doors, flooring, but we'll take care of those things as time goes on. But my trip in 2017 is to raise monies for the dining hall. Money has not been the best. I think it'll take probably about $30,000. They're going to do a cement floor and a roof. In the future, the future drawings, is going to be exactly like that? No. But it's kind of like a guide. But we can go about halfway and then do some windows all the way around with that. So that's our, the purpose of my trip is to raise monies to build that dining hall. If it is successful, we check that off the list. Our next goal is classrooms. Yeah. It takes a lot of work. The very last part of the land, it will be a soccer field. That'll be later. The boys from the church are always getting at us, hey, what's going on? What's going on? We're trying to get the soccer field. Oh, God first. We put the church first. Get the church buildings first. And they're like, I say, sorry. You're going to have patience and wait. But right now they just use the dirt. But you get dirt in your eyes and your mouth. And so they're really looking forward to a new soccer field. And I say, hey, you know what? We got to go through the steps. But that is us. So 39 years. Next year, in February 28, 1978 is when I first came. Time has flown, though. I pray God will give me health and strength for more. I don't know how long, but put Him first. That's all. Do you have any questions? Lee Johnson. He graduated from Hammond, Hyles Anderson? Yes. He asked me the question, Lee Johnson, he graduated from Hyles Anderson College? The answer is yes. Hammond, Indiana. You remember Lee Johnson? Yes. Lee Johnson, he was born in New York. His father and family moved to South Carolina because New York was quite dangerous. And so they moved to the Charlotte area. His father is black. His mother is Puerto Rican. Virgin Islands. His father was military, and the base there in the Virgin Islands happened to meet his mother and married, and then had children, and one of them was Lee. Lee Johnson accepted Christ in his heart at the age of 16 in the Virgin Islands. He was witnessed to and accepted Christ. He has a deaf cousin that he signed. The deaf cousin taught Lee Johnson some signs. The cousin was ignored quite a bit, and Lee Johnson noticed that, and so he went and asked to be taught. And he's like, no, come on, teach me. And so taught him the ABCs, and Lee Johnson said, hey, I don't want to spell. Come on, give me more. So then he started teaching him signs, and Lee Johnson started really picking it up. And Lee Johnson is a very skilled signer. He had a heart to surrender to go to Bible college. He decided to go to Hiles-Anderson in Hammond, Indiana. Graduated from there and surrendered to the Lord to work wherever the Lord would lead him. The Lord led him to the deaf there in Peru. He worked for a while with Vernon and Velma Miller. And then once he got married to Eva, they moved to start a work in Chiclayo. It is to the north, 12 hours from Lima. In the past, I had lived there in Lima with Vernon and Velma Miller at Afata. In English, it's spelled this way, Afata. But in Spanish, they Afata. It sounds the same though, in both languages. But Vernon established the school and church there at Afata, and has been there to this day. But he's gone. Vernon has gone home to be with the Lord. He died back in November 14th, 2006. Velma, his wife, moved to Indianapolis with her daughter. Velma's first marriage, she had a daughter, 2 children, a son and a daughter. And over years, her husband passed away from colon cancer. And so, as a widow, she was a widow for a year and then happened to meet Vernon in Chicago. Vernon was traveling and happened to meet Velma and married her, and then they were there on the field for many years. Velma, though, was there with the daughter, and then she recently passed away as well back in May 14th. On Mother's Day, in the morning, she passed away. So she has gone to be with the Lord as well. Efata is now under another missionary. His name is Joe Kotvis. Joe Kotvis is his sign name. His wife's name is Lisa Kotvis. They have taken over that ministry, and it's doing well. What am I doing? Because, I'm on actually a different mission board. I'm with BIMI. Lee Johnson is also a BIMI missionary. He had gone to the north, and so I decided to also move to the north. You see the pictures there. It's a 12-hour trip north. And that is where I am today with missionary Lee Johnson. We are a team ministry. We work with the school and the church for the deaf. What's happened with the Lima Church? It's still going to continue. There's another missionary named Joe Cottless who has taken over and has done a lot to improve it, and he's done a very good work. God has blessed that ministry greatly. I'm going to come up here to ask my question. Hello, I'm Kim Terrazas. I would like to ask you a question. What made you become a missionary to Peru, one, and how did you start getting involved with the mission work in Peru? And then the second question is, what is your culture shock when you first moved to Peru for the first time? How did that feel moving there? Well, I've thought a lot about missions, but I did not want to be a missionary. I wanted to get married to a preacher. God had a different direction. We were both looking, and I dated David Hansen for some time. It's true. I knew David at Gallaudet, and when we both came to TBC, we had spoken, and I was hopeful and had many prayers for it to be God's will, and thought that it was going along. Champion's wife, Pat, came to me and said, "Hey, why don't you be a missionary?" I laughed. In the back of my mind, I was like, no, I'm going to marry David. Pat said, "Oh, well, why not? You can. Why don't you try? Go to the field." And I thought, it'll be fun. Sure, I'll go. It'll benefit me. I'll go for a little bit, and then I'll come back, because I knew that I was going to, go with David. But God, led me, opened the doors. I was able to raise my support quickly, got my passport very quickly, and got my immunizations, a lot of them, and then everything was set, and then I flew. I was shocked, as far as the culture. It is dry. I grew up in Montana. Now, the Deaf Institute in Montana, didn't really teach good geography that well, I knew Peru was a country. I knew Brazil. I knew that was a large landmass. But as far as the jungle and stuff like that, I watched over on TV, I saw like the rainforest, the jungle of Brazil, and the Amazon, and Tarzan, and Tarzan of the Apes. I thought, Peru would be similar to that. I thought. So when I landed, I saw it. I was like, it looks dry. The dirt, the sand, all over. And I was like, the people sitting next to me, I wrote there, and I wrote to them, and I said, "Do you speak English?" He said, "Yeah." So I started writing. I said, "Is that Lima?" They said, "Oh, yeah, that's Lima." "That's Lima? Huh." So I got out of the plane, and I was like, ugh. Just everything about it was... I met Vernon at the airport and went with him. I started looking around. It just impoverished conditions. Here is, you keep everything nice, clean. Buildings are kept up. You complete buildings, but no, not there. They get a front wall, and then the sides get half built, and then in the back it's not finished, and they get, the metal pole sticking up. It looks funny. I said, hey, Vernon, why do they do that? The front looks nice, but in the back it looks bad. They said, they will build more to put them right up next to each other. And I was like, oh, okay. That was new to me. And I never forgot a man standing, going to the bathroom, naked on the side of the road. I was like, oh, I had to cover my eyes. Saw it again, I had to cover my eyes. Oh my, I had to cover my eyes. Very common practice. Women will walk down, squat, put their skirt up, and go to the bathroom. I was like, oh my goodness. I was like, that's the culture, huh? Today in Peru has improved. It is better now. They have put public bathrooms, which is nice. I was like, finally. I'm happy with that. I don't have to watch people go to the bathroom on the side of the roof. Food, I went in and saw a big table, and they had soup, and they were cutting stuff up and throwing stuff into this soup, and big old coconut that they put in there. I was like, oh, okay. Chunks of corn and chicken. They cut like the legs, the necks, and everything off. They threw it in the pot. I was like, oh my. So then I got the soup, and they put the soup out, and I counted. There's 4 people that walked in. 1, 2, 3. Oh. So they served them, and then brought the next one, served the next one, till finally it got to me. I said, sat down. I got the leg of the chicken, and I was sitting there eating it, and had blood everywhere. It picked out. The children were like looking. I was like, hey, you don't want it? I was like, no, thanks. They're like, oh, please. It's like, fine. I picked it out, and they ate it up to the bone. I was like, oh, interesting. So then, that happened quite often. Soup. I would count the people and count the bowls, and always seemed that I would get the chicken head or with the beak and the eye peeking out at me. I just, tried to pick it out, and the children would put their hands out, and I'd give it to them, and they would eat it down to the bone. And I was like, okay. That's their culture. But I asked Vernon, I said, hey, where's the monkeys? Where's the trees? Where's the jungle? Where's the spiders? And Vernon said, hey, no. We are in the West Coast. It's very dry. In the middle, it's jungles and mountains. I was like, oh, mountains, oh. And then after that is, the jungle on the East Coast. I'm sure that you've seen on the map, Peru. You see, in Peru, there's 3 sections of Peru. One is jungle type, and then the middle section of Peru is mountainous, and then the west is very dry. So, hugged the little kids, and I said, hey, you know what? I'm only here for 3 months. I got to go back home and finish college. So, hugs, and the children looked at me all sad. You go, you come back. And I said, oh, in the back of my mind, I was thinking, oh no, I'm looking forward to seeing David. In the back of my mind, I knew that I was going to, go back and, most likely get married. The kids said, oh, no. We pray that you go and then you come back to us. And they look at me, and I was like, oh, you little kids, gave them hugs and flew back home, landed, and in Miami, changed planes. I was, thinking, God, wow, those kids, they're in Peru. Vernon and Velma, wow, they worked hard. I was looking through my pictures, and my heart was just burdened. I started weeping there on the airplane. I mean, not sad tears, but joyful tears. In the airplane, God just touched my heart. I'm looking around going, what, God? No. I was all, confused, and there was Pat waiting for me at the airport. Come up to meet me, Pat Champion. Came up to me and said, so? I said, oh, it was good. Pat said, I pray for you. Oh, yeah, thanks. And I was trying to get away from her. Trying to walk away. And there's David walking up. And I started talking with him, and it seemed awkward. I was like, and he said God called him to be a pastor. The Peruvian sign is this for pastor. So sometimes I sign this. God had called him to be a pastor. And then John Clark. He was happened to be there preaching at Temple Deaf College. John Clark was there. He was preaching. And again, God touched my heart. John Clark said, this is a true story a long time ago. Bible college at TTU, Tennessee Temple. It's a hearing college. Man with his girlfriend said, go and preach. The man had a heart that he was called to be a missionary to Brazil. The man was sitting there and he said, no, I'm not going to go. After some time, another preacher came. He sat there, and again, he felt God's call. You, go be a missionary in Brazil. And he again pushed against that calling. A third missionary came in. He had graduated from Bible college and they had gotten married. And the man was working at a bank. Good money at the bank, working. And God said, hey, go. And the man again ignored. Had a baby. Boy. At the age of 2 years old, the man came home. His wife was had the food all laid out. And the baby got in the high chair and was laughing and lost its balance and fell back and broke its neck and died. The man ran over and so upset, and the wife was crying and just grieved. They had a funeral, and the man said to his wife, I think God has called me to be a missionary. God called me, and I've ignored his call. And the wife was like, why didn't you ever tell me? Well, I was afraid if you told me that you wouldn't want to go to be a missionary. You know, it's a poor area. The woman said, no, I'd go with you no matter what. The man said, I'm sorry. So they went to TTU, and they had a mission department. They started asking questions. Is there a place in Brazil They said, no, we haven't started anything in Brazil. There's a missionary that's already taken that position. And the man said, well, the second option went to one of the professors at Tennessee Temple. And he was explaining what was happening. And the students were like, wow, that story kind of grew and grew and grew until John Clark heard it. And he's sharing the story with me. And I was thinking, oh, I was burdened. I thought, we would get married to David. We would serve the Lord. He was going to be a pastor. But that was not God's will for my life. And I sat there. And I knew that God was calling me to Peru. So, I went over there. I sat with David. I started talking. And he said, God's called you to be a missionary. And I said, yes. And he said, that's fine. It's better to obey the Lord. And I said, yeah. And we both agreed. I gave him a hug. And we would be brothers and sisters in Christ. He went on his path, and I went on my path. Down the road, David found a wonderful woman in Charlene. And just perfect for David. They were just great for God used them wonderfully. I had 4 wonderful children who have now grown and are serving God. My path, I never married till today. I continue to serve the Lord. I don't wish, and I'm not angry that God never gave me a husband. I'm happy for God's will. And that is the story. Beautiful. Amen. Peru. She asked the question, Peru, they hunt for meat. Well, in the jungle, they do. In the mountains, some do. But in the coast, not much. It's dry. There's a lot of buildings, a lot of cities. Peru is not a really strong hunting community. In Montana, hunting's huge. But same as elsewhere. Fishing, yes. Peru, on the coast, is the Pacific Ocean. And yes, there is a lot of boats. They net fish, cast nets to fish, and do that. There's a question here. You teach, people get saved, baptized, what? Tell me about what you do. Okay. So children come into the school and they know no sign language. We teach them to sign, and it takes time. And sometimes it's not quick. We don't teach them about Jesus Christ right away. It takes time to give them language. 1 or 2 years, and then they start knowing more. And then the Lord speaks to their heart, and they choose to accept Jesus Christ. And baptism is hard because their families are strong Catholics. And so when we go over there and say, hey, I'm a Christian, the family say, oh, whoa, you a Christian? No, we are Catholics. And it's our generation and our heritage and all this. And so gives us and Lee Johnson, we've sat down with the scriptures and explained these things. But baptism is understood. But when they go over to the families and say, I'm going to be baptized. No, you already were sprinkled as a baby. You don't need to be baptized. It's not necessary. No. And they get fearful. and we try to explain, about what it is. You don't like and you're mad, that's fine, but we still would invite you to come. And families see the transformation. In the past, they were just bad kids, stealing and running around. But the change that they see, they begin to realize that it is true, and they give respect. One question, right now, the fall, right now it's spring there, so soon Christmas. How do they celebrate Christmas during the summertime? It's different. Here we think about snow and sleigh bells and Christmas, but over there it is hot. They swim, like Mark said, in Florida, shorts and flip-flops and all that. But they celebrate at nighttime, around 12 midnight. People go out and meet each other and hug each other and say, hey, Merry Christmas, and give well wishes. And then they have food overnight, about midnight. And then after that, New Year's is very similar as well. But it is hot. It is hot. And when it hits 12 midnight, they set off fireworks. And they put their old clothes on. And then they throw them away. They burn them. They say, hey, it's a new year. And about midnight, they give hugs again and go and say Happy New Year. And then they eat overnight. That's their culture. But worldly people just drink and drink and drink. As Christians, obviously, we do not. We keep ourselves clean. We stay at home with family. So you said your goal is to raise money for the area. First question, how much have you raised so far this trip? You said 30,000 need for Bill. How much have you raised this trip? Number one. Number two, understand Larry Johnson, missionary, pastor there. Do you have outside contact to other deaf life, or just deaf areas? Okay, so about the money that I've raised in Montana, I raised about $500 from one church. Got that saved, and then I've raised another $500. Others, I don't know. They have written checks to the mission board, BIMI. I don't know what those numbers are. But myself, of course, I need about $500 to fulfill my support, because some churches have told me that they're not going to be supporting me any longer because churches are having financial difficulties. Some, not many, but some. I say, okay, it's okay. I understand that. There are situations that they're going through. I get it. And I don't, I say, nuts. But, you know what? It's fine. I trust God. He will help us. But my goal, yes, my hope is that we can raise more money so that we can give him for the mission board. Right now, like love offerings that I get, I'm hopeful that you can give me some, because I use it for my transportation, bus, train. This Tuesday, I'll be leaving and going to St. Louis by train, Amtrak, and then ministering to churches there, and then I'll be flying around, again, taking buses in Tennessee, and then flying out to Maryland area, Washington, D.C., and then I'll be flying out to Montana. And so continue to pray that God will help me to get full support for the dining hall. So, okay, so now Lee Johnson in Peru, he has tried to reach out to do like a camp, or try to set up other deaf churches in the surrounding areas. Lima has one, and Chiclayo has one. And we have tried to set up other deaf ministries. They continue to try. They have not yet done that, but they have visited different areas looking for a good place to do that. I saw on her PowerPoint one deaf guy graduated and now working with deaf group, hearing church, but deaf group. Where's that area? Can you bring that up again and show the map of Peru? On your PowerPoint, I can try.
The beautiful country of Peru.
How? How? Pause. How? During PowerPoint. Do you know how to pause a PowerPoint?
Hola.
This is my first.
Oh, did I pass it? Yeah, did I pass it?
Sure. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, yes. All right. So here's the map of Peru. That guy is Sosimo, South End. He is from this area right here. Iquitos. They've gone to Lima here. He goes between, a 12-hour drive between those two cities. He finished his studies, he graduated high school, and then later on, he went to the southeast of Peru,
It's in the jungle.
in the jungle, and he's helping the Hearing Church there. They were very happy to have him come, and they gave him a room, and so he went out and got some deaf people, and he's teaching a class there. And he's really a pastor to the deaf.
So do you have, so now 3 deaf ministries, one in Lima, So just to explain, in the past, back when Vernon was around, Vernon had sent about 10 different men to different areas. One of them was in another area. Another 3 guys over to this area. Cusco. And then another area here. And then another area here. These are all signs for the areas. So there were several different ministries started, but unfortunately, a lot of them had moral sin. Several of the men fell into sin, sexual sin, had affairs, and it's very discouraging. Vernon had to, cut them off. But he's tried to change to new ways, but anyway, unfortunately that has not happened. Joe Cottbus has sent one to this area, and then there's another one up in that area. So 5, around 5. Good. So they're from in the past, but ministries, hearing ministries have taken over, and deaf are still running. And these 2 areas, and then this area as well. So I remember now this other area. This other area, you saw my signs. They're different areas, I understand, but that's their signs for those different areas, cities. So, good.
Thank you, Nancy. I really enjoyed her message about her work in Peru. If you enjoy this as well, go ahead and let her know. We will be having a love offering here shortly. And maybe you may not be expecting another offering, but to give us money for her, we will make sure that we give that to her directly. We don't plan on keeping this second offering at all. So maybe in a couple of weeks, you may have missed the opportunity to give that love offering today, or maybe those who are watching on YouTube want to help support and are trying to look for her. You can either contact her or send it to us with her name on it, and we'll make sure that she gets that. Help explain here a little bit more. If you are writing a check to me now, it would need to be under my name, and then underneath that, we plan on depositing that shortly. So if there is a check, she will be cashing that money almost immediately for transportation. So if you do want to help her and write a check, make sure you write it to her name, Nancy Burns. Nancy Burns. And that money will go directly to her. And please feel free to give her cash as well, or put that into the offering. So I'm going to go ahead and ask the ushers to come back up again. Question over here? No? Okay. And another, for those who would like to donate in the future, you can write a check for the building. Direct that check to BIMI, also under her name, under the memo. Just put her name there for the building. ahead and pray and ask for His blessing. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for Nancy. We're thankful for her years and her work in ministry. Lord, your word says that White here is worthy of honor. We thank you for her many years of labor, and it's definitely worthy of honor to the Lord. Lord, I pray that you bless this offering here this afternoon. We know that you'll care for our missionaries. We ask that you bless the rest of her work and give her many years to come if it is your will to work for you. We ask you, Lord, to bless this meeting and pray. Amen.